I do want to remind everyone that we've had strong statements from our current Secretary of State, a registered Democrat, our past Secretary of State, a registered Republican, that we have not had any widespread evidence of voter fraud here in Nevada. I know there were many statements with concerns about that made by some of the callers. And again, I just want to reiterate that both a Democratic Secretary of State, a Republican Secretary of State have both made that comment that there's not been any widespread evidence of any widespread voter fraud here in Nevada.
My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state chairman of the Independent American Party. And we have some serious concerns about this particular bill. One of my concerns is that in section 1, line 14, it says that, if they fail to carry out their duty in a timely manner, it doesn't have to be willful. If they just have problems, they can't get it printed or whatever, then they can be charged with these different things. I think there's a real problem if he's trying to straighten up the roles. If you bring in the Secretary of State, are they going to have people, and I am in Elko County, we have an elected county clerk that we have elected. Then they're going to usurp their particular authority in that county. Will they know how to do it better? And then you may induce have the Attorney General to do it. And then if that doesn't work, you may go to court and get a special master. How much time is that going to take? That isn't going to help us reach those deadlines quicker. It's going to expand the time that we need for getting taking care of the elections. I have significant concerns about that. I think this also interferes with and is an anti-democratic process, because not only were these people, most of them, the county clerks, elected locally, but they were appointed by their county commissioner or whoever, and that's where the power should lie. And we shouldn't be bringing in state officials to supersede what they may be doing. And I think that can be a real problem. Do we know if the Secretary of State has people who are fully qualified, or the Attorney General, or the Special Master? Are they qualified to make sure that what is happening in our local county is appropriate? And do they know the system in that county? I think there are some real problems with this bill. We all want our elections to run smoothly. We all want things to work together, but this bill is not the answer. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm the State Vice President of Nevada Families for Freedom. Good afternoon, Chair. We're not supposed to be chairman anymore, I guess. Chair and committee. A lot of the concerns that we have already been discussed, and I just wanted to start off by saying that I appreciate what Senator Daley wants to do. He's my senator, and I know that he's probably worked very hard on this. But if there's already a solution in the law, then I don't know that if it's not working, then it does have to be retooled. But if it's already working, and it seems like it has been for a long time, why mess with it? We're also concerned about the fact that the courts would be used a lot, and that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. And we're also concerned with the penalties, with felonies, and also with the voters, if they have something against somebody, the things that can go on, and people get kind of crazy out there sometimes, and we're kind of concerned about that. So these are the reasons why we are not really for the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee. My name is Jim DeGraffenreid. That's JimDeGraffenreid. I am Nevada's Republican National Committee man. We had submitted written testimony on this, which I think you all will have access to. I had just a couple of additional points to make today as well. I heard that there was an opinion that there was a deadline that was almost missed in Washoe County with the printing of sample ballots. The deadline, however, was in fact met. And so it seemed to me like the people who were involved in that had their eye on the deadline and knew what they were doing. There was comment about the commissioners not canvassing the vote appropriately. The commissioners do have a duty to ensure that the vote is accurate. And I don't know that it's our place to decide what their duty is or if it's appropriate. In both cases, whether it's clerks or commissioners, the voters should have the ultimate authority over whether they continue to do their jobs. Shouldn't come down to the Secretary of State or the court system to necessarily remove them from their positions. in general, I know our clerks do an excellent job throughout the state, our clerks and registrars. Anything that happens that is slowing them down generally comes from either legislative or regulatory mandates, and I think that they generally do a very good job with that, so I almost feel like we're approaching this from the wrong end. I'm also concerned finally about the section where the voters, any registered voter can initiate the process. We know that there are an awful lot of high emotions and tensions on both sides of issues these days, and I think we open ourselves up for chaos if we allow any voter to start this process and maybe in the end up making the process worse as opposed to better just by delaying it with the process. So appreciate you taking the time to listen today. Thank you.
I know all about the election integrity issues we have. We have in place already to handle that. We've got an assistant ROV. We've got our county manager, Eric Brown, that oversees our elections department. And we also have our 5 county commissioners. We don't need the Secretary of State to take away local control. The way our Constitution and Republic were designed is elections were always to be as close to the people as possible. It should not be the Secretary of State stepping in to take control of our elections. We in Washoe County are very smart people. We know how to fix the problems. We, the people, show up at county commission meetings to make suggestions how our elections can be made better. And we're not going to give up. Nevada is already one of the 6 swing states that has election integrity issues. The soon-to-be FBI Director, Kash Patel, has come out and said he's concerned about certain states that have election problems. And he specifically mentioned Nevada. And he said once he's an FBI director, he's going to investigate, which means, will he be coming into Nevada? Will he be happy if this bill passes to take away elections from local control? Also, do we want a bill that's going to throw our ROV in prison? I don't think that's quite the way to handle it. I think the laws are already in place. We don't need, and Senator Daley may be a very nice person. I've never had the opportunity or pleasure to meet him, but perhaps he did not get the right information. I know that leftist voting rights groups have been in Nevada since 2019.
And we're at 2 minutes. So
I'm sorry, I don't see a clock, so I didn't know. Thank you.
Wrap up your thoughts. Thank you.
My name is Janine Hansen, and I'm the state chairman of the Independent American Party. I'm very concerned about the penalties in this bill. They are extraordinary and extreme. They have a category D felony, a $5,000 penalty, and they have to pay all the money for investigation and prosecution, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. In addition, they can never have their rights restored to run or hold for public office, to vote, or to be appointed. This is absolutely extraordinary and extreme. Another issue with this was mentioned in the Hawaii case. This is very similar to what happened in the election in Nevada in 2020. First, in Hawaii, Kennedy was the winner, then Nixon, then Kennedy. Then they had a full recount. And it was determined ultimately, after they had certified their electors, that Kennedy was the winner. And so both sets of electors, the Democrats who were not certified and the Republicans, voted at the Iolani Palace on the same day and sent in their electors. And ultimately, after they had the recount, the judge ordered the recount, the state also rushed a letter to Congress to indicate that there was a new certification. So it was very important that the Democrats who were not certified voted, as well as the Republicans that were certified, and actually they voted for, it was for Kennedy that they actually voted for. One other issue is that if SB 102 passes and AGR 6, which is National Popular Vote, they will be in conflict with one another, because National Popular Vote says that the electors have to vote for the National Popular Vote winner, who might be different than the popular vote winner in the state of Nevada. So these two issues, and you are dealing with AGR 6 from the last session, this session, if they both pass, they will be in conflict. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Afternoon. No, it's good evening. I'm Lynn Chapman, and I'm State Vice President of Nevada Families for Freedom. SB 102 appears to be a political reaction to events in the 2020 elections. Should a future presidential election have issues requiring litigation, Congress included the Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Improvement Act of 2022, ECRA, in the passage of H.R. 2617, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023, which was signed into law by President Biden in January 2023. The ECRA clarifies that the Vice President's role in the proceedings is purely ceremonial. The measure also raises the bar for objecting to a state's slate of electors. Prior to passage, it required just one member of House and one senator to challenge a state's electors, a provision that had been invoked by members of both parties in multiple presidential elections. The ECRA raised the threshold for an objection to 20% of the members of each chamber. The ECRA reforms sufficiently address the issues by encouraging litigation to be completed by the safe harbor day the electors must vote, but not by mandating that acknowledges that the judiciary process must be allowed to run its course without making those seeking judicial relief into criminals as proposed by SB 102. Nevada cannot interfere in the execution of a federal function where such is an activity that did not exist prior to the Constitution, such as electors voting for president. Justice Story recognized, quote, the states can exercise no powers whatsoever which exclusively spring out of the existence of the national government, which the Constitution does not delegate to them. No state can say that it has reserved what it never possessed, unquote. That's from the U.S. Term Limits Incorporated versus Thornton, 93, 1456, 514, U.S. 779, 1995. Please vote no on SB 102. Thank you.
Not to pass it out of committee. What I see happening here is that it's more state control of political parties. That is wrong. There are already laws in place to handle anything that is irregular. We don't need more and more laws on the books. I'm also concerned that the opposition came from All Voting is Local and Battle-Born Progressive Group. They're both known to be leftist voting rights groups. Based on research I've done, since 2019, we've had these leftist voting rights groups from out of state come into Nevada, get these laws passed. They're passed because right now we've got a Democrat-controlled legislature. And then what they do, they go into other states and say, well, Nevada passed it, you should too. So we already heard Senator Steinbach ask about SB 100, if any other state had done this. So it does carry weight what Nevada does, even though we're a very small state, but we are one of the 6 swing states. So we do carry a lot of weight. So I would ask you not to pass this encroachment bill and just leave things the way they are and leave it up to the political parties. And if there's a problem, the federal election law can take care of it. Thank you.
I'm opposed to this bill. I will ditto the comments, especially from Janine Hansen, and I'm opposed to the previous bills too. Thank you.
My name is Iris Stone. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. I am in strong opposition to Senate Bill 102, which represents a dangerous overreach that threatens political participation, due process, and the ability to challenge elections through legal means. While SB 102 claims to address election integrity, it instead creates new felony charges for actions that are already illegal, opening the door to selective prosecution and politically motivated investigation. The bill's vague language, particularly regarding the false slates of electors and interfering with selection of electors, fails to distinguish between criminal conduct and legitimate election disputes, creating a chilling effect on political engagement. In fact, the term, quote, false slate of electors, unquote, is a misnomer, rendering confusion in this bill. The slate of electors selected pursuant to NRS 298.035 is indeed not false. It represents a very valid section of citizens who participate in Nevada elections. There's nothing felonious about it. Additionally, SB 102 strips individuals of their right to ever hold public office if convicted, without any path to restoring those rights. This is a permanent political ban, not just a criminal penalty. Election law should not be weaponized to silence opposition or discourage legal challenges to contested results. Most concerning is that SB 102 does nothing to improve actual election security. It does not address voter verification, ballot chain of custody, or other election integrity concerns. Instead, it targets individuals and campaigns who dare to question election outcomes. In conclusion, this bill is unnecessary, redundant, and ripe for abuse. I urge this committee to reject SB 102 and stand against efforts that could be used to intimidate citizens from engaging in the democratic process. Thank you for your time.